You know, the stuff that sticks to your socks and clothes and dog's fur? Well, it's called burclover, Medicago polymorpha. Actually, this plant is entirely edible. The California Indians, Northern California that is, they would eat the foliage fresh, and they loved this plant and other plants in the genus of true clovers, Trifolium. As you can see, this has leaves of 3, and the reason I like this is because it's full of protein. It's full of protein because it has nodules in its roots, which it fix atmospheric nitrogen. Proteins require a lot of nitrogen, turns out. So yeah, the Wailakis actually had a special dance when this came into leafing out in the spring, and they could just be seen out in the fields munching away like a cow. Which is funny because it's in the same genus as alfalfa, which is a very well-known forage plant for livestock. Been cultivated for thousands of years for that purpose. And alfalfa sprouts are a well-known forage plant for hippies. Now, its usefulness as an edible plant does not end at its leaves. These little sock banes, these are actually apparently edible too. I recently found a reference that the Cahuilla Indians of Southern California take these, parch them, grind them, and cook them into a mush. That's the only one reference I've seen of it. I do believe they're edible, but I'm gonna try it. Do some experimental ethnobotany today. This yard is absolutely full of that plant. It's pretty much nothing else, and it is an introduced species, common throughout Texas and the United States. To be upfront, I was not able to make a usable final product from the burs. I'll show the whole process I went through anyway, but I think adding a crucial step was needed. I'm gathering the seeds while they're still soft and green. I actually chewed some up and they don't taste bad, but they're a bit tough and fibrous. With maturation and heat, they become hard and spiny. It's unclear at what stage the Cahuilla gathered them, but they are easier to gather when they are still younger, soft, and attached to the plants. The foliage tastes great and goes well with tomato salad, atop spaghetti, or added to a nut and fruit smoothie. You can use it in any of the ways one might use spinach. Instead of sun drying, I'll generally just put things in the oven at 200 degrees for about an hour. This method of tossing seeds with live coals was used very commonly among American Indians to parch the many types of seeds and grains they ate. It's pretty easy, and keeping them constantly moving avoids any scorching. You could just cook them in the oven for a higher temperature, but I was curious if the coals would help singe off the spines, which they did not. I generally use a cheap coffee grinder instead of the traditional mortar and pestle to save time. Though I was concerned at this stage that the more fibrous parts were not being ground up in the coffee grinder, but I hoped they would soften with cooking. I was wrong. In retrospect, I should have sifted them at this point to remove the fiber from the powder. You can see my reaction to trying to eat it at the end. Okay, let's give this a try. Can't say I'm too excited. Well, it doesn't taste bad, but it also doesn't taste great. I mean, it is just the sandburs. Probably most similar to pea soup. Perhaps it might be palatable with some salt and grease or something. But the main thing is, as you can see me spitting this stuff out, I wasn't able to properly grind all of the portions of the seed. So there's like these discs that have the spines coming off of them. I thought they might be cooked soft, but they're still there. They're not poking me, but it's just very fibrous. It could have been possible to separate them at some point after I ground them. There's techniques to sift and separate different materials. I probably should have sifted it and just used the powder. So I'm not sure I want to try to do this, the rest of this. Maybe I'll try again with the sifting as a part of it. I didn't read that. Cahuilla did that, but these accounts are very sparse in information. So, it's what happens in experiments. Sometimes there's failures.